350, which is still a lot of pages, but not as much as 500. But yeah, like as the drafts like progressed, the book became, I would say, like less accurate. But what's that Maya Angelou quote? I always like remember it, but I don't remember what it actually is. But it's about like, it's not about what you say, it's about how it makes you feel. So at the end of the book, like all the drafts, like they make you feel a certain way, like the same exact emotion, but like what it's saying, like the words in the dialogue is all different over the drafts. It also changed a lot with how I processed my trauma. At the beginning of the book, like when you read it, like at the end, like I'm not gonna say any spoilers, but a lot of it is like, oh, a lot of this is like kind of my fault. Like I kind of messed up a lot. But when I first started the book, it felt like a giant call-out post in a way. And I felt like, you know, looking back, like it's a little immature of me to do. And I'm glad that I had that therapy of just, I don't know, coming to terms, like it's not everyone's fault. Like I felt like I was like pointing fingers a lot at the beginning, but at the end it just became about, well, who, like why I did this, a lot of it, like I was possessive. I was like mostly the reason for like this, like handling this very codependent friendship that I had. And you know, like that book had to change along with that trauma. And now it's like not a call out post anymore, which I think was which that could have been really bad. I think it would make me feel awful like after it comes out. Like I don't want anybody to feel bad about themselves like after the fact that it's published. So yeah, no more call out posts. What? Yeah, okay.
Were you worried about the real people in the book reading it as you were making it? I know as I was reading it halfway through, I got this sense of like, oh no, like, you know, what is everyone gonna think of this story? And were you worried about that?
I mean, yeah, but if any, like, I mean, the one person that I was like super worried about is like definitely my mom, because she is watching herself like being like really physically awful to me. She like says like really awful things to like me and my brother sometimes, and I was really worried about her, but she hasn't read the book yet, and I don't think she wants to, and I kind of get it. I mean, she did tell me like, hey, just make me look pretty and like it's fine. Like, and I hope I did. I mean, my mom is like at the end of the day like a really cool person. Like she's definitely changed a lot. My dad has read the book a few times, and I mean, there's nothing really incriminating about him. It's just like, you know, he's very much like the back, like he was like in the back seat a lot. So I know he feels like, you know, some type of way about the way that things turned out in terms of how arguments played out. My brother has read the book. I mean, he's just a character. Like I know some of his friends have gotten the book and they're just like trying to mark every single time they see Brad. Fun fact, my brother's, his name is Brad. Our last name is Lee. This made things a little bit complicated. Brad does not stand for anything, by the way. He's just Brad. The other person I was a little bit worried about was the person that is mostly the character Quinn. So Quinn is actually made up of two people. There is the side of Quinn that is like extremely smart. Like that person was like had the likeness of Quinn, I guess, with like the curly blonde hair. Really like a genius. I remember when this was back when SATs were like out of 2400, but like this person did not study, just did the SAT, got a full score. Okay. But I mean, yeah, but the other side of Quinn was a like closeted gay man, or like boy, I guess, at that point. And he like had a lot that he was holding in at that point, and he was like one of my closest friends. And a lot of the drama was about him. Like, and other people that we haven't spoken since 2018. Like in the actual book, it says that we stopped talking in 2014, but IRL, we were like maintaining contact until 2018, and like there was another fallout, and we're not on speaking terms anymore. But he knows that I wrote the book. I don't think he's gonna read it after like what I've heard later, but the other, I guess, like what brought me more closure than I expected were his friends. So in the book, the person that is mostly Quinn becomes friends, like kind of like becomes really close friends with like this other group of people. And they were like, you know, they didn't really understand what happened, so they kind of like acted a little bit weird around me. But then after the book came out, some of them messaged me on Instagram and said, hey, I read the book. It's funny because we're not on speaking terms anymore, like them and the person that's mostly Quinn. Like, they just like, yeah, like it was really painful to see like how Quinn, like, you know, was really stubborn. We're not on speaking terms anymore. And I really felt that in the way that I saw your friendship with Quinn like fall apart. Like I felt that exact same thing. And it's really cool to see your side of the story because that was a huge event like in our lives back then. So seeing like, you know, I thank you for making this. This brings me a lot of closure, like, and this is what the friend said, like, this brings me a lot of closure, like, about how, you know, they were with me, and, like, I'm glad that I'm not alone when I read this. So it's like, oh, it's really nice that that brought me closure, because I did feel, like, some resentment towards that friend group, because, like, hey, you just took my best friend, even though, like, you don't own people, but, that was just, like, those were the people that I was, like, kind of, like, about.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the books I make are most of them are nonfiction. And one of the weird things about writing things that are historical is that you realize very quickly that all history is also fiction. Like it's fiction because anytime you're creating a narrative out of something that happened a long time ago, you are leaving things out. You're putting things in that help the narrative, right? So there's, you know, it's not a documentary, and yet you feel a kind of responsibility to be accurate to your vision.
Yeah, you're the editor.
That's right, yeah.
It's like watching the new season of Love is Blind.
Like everything is, gosh, everything is edited to like portray characters in a certain way.
Yeah.
And like that's, you're like shooting the raw footage, you're also the editor, and that's like a really big job.
A lot of people who read comics also make comics. Can we talk a little art?
Of course, yeah.
Who were the people that inspired you in this book, or were there books you read and thought, I'm gonna make a book like that someday? Like what visually or narratively, what were your inspirations?
I am eyeing that book called Big Tree by Brian Selznick.
Phenomenal. I love it so much.
Okay, well, I haven't read that one yet, but I am a huge, I love his drawings so much. But yeah, I was like rubbing my hands because I have a lot to say about this. I wasn't allowed to read comics as a kid. My mom did not allow
Like
me.
your mom said,
No
specifically
comics.
no comics.
No comics. So I had to like do the thing where like, it's like playing your Nintendo DS Lite, like, this is a very specific memory, but like you would just like, all right, are my parents gone? And then like they think you're asleep, but actually you're under the covers playing your Nintendo DS, trying to like beat the gym leader in Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. That didn't end well for me. Anyway, so I would do that with comics. I would read like, I don't know, I think the first comic that I truly like read through must have been, I was like in the 8th grade, and it was the comic Death Note. The manga.
Where'd you find it?
Onemanga.com. I don't know, free content, I guess. Support your authors, buy their books. What else? So, I mean, I would like, you know, I loved going to Barnes and Noble or like sometimes Borders when that was a thing back then. I would, you know, sit in the manga section and just like read the books. I would like borrow Diary of a Wimpy Kid from my friends when we went to camp. So I would just read it and like give it back to her. But yeah, so I didn't really like understand or really get into comics until quite late in my life. I don't think I really got into them until maybe after college actually, because I made a comic because I know that people make that. And then I was like, oh shoot, now I have to make comics as a job. So then I'm like, okay, now I have to actually read comics again. So it was really much like I'm like learning comics on the job while I'm drawing the thing. But I would say one of the earlier inspirations in my life must have been like, Brian Selznick's work. The reason my mom let me get The Invention of Hugo Capre by Brian Selznick was because, it's a thick book. It's 500, 600 pages. Half of it was pictures, but 300 pages of that is text. So it was fine for her that I could get that book. But the aesthetic of all those pencil drawings, I thought I was kind of copying the pages when I was really young. I would just draw those. I would also was taking inspiration from, actually no, I was reading comics late high school too, but it was also on my phone. But it was Goodnight Poon Poon. Yeah, I have a tattoo of it on my wrist. I do mention this every time I bring it up to an audience, but if you haven't read Poon Poon, do not read it if you are really depressed. It will mess you up. But yeah, just the way that, it's really dark. I don't know if you've read it. It's really messed up. It's really depressing. It follows a boy from he's I think in the 5th grade, and it follows his life up until his mid-20s, and there's murder involved, and there's sexual abuse involved, and it's just a lot. But just the way that Inyo Asano, who's the author, the mangaka, really portrays deep self-loathing and deep hatred and depression is so evocative, and I wanted to be able to do that on my own as well. Also the way he draws backgrounds, which sometimes he doesn't draw backgrounds, he literally uses photos and sticks them into Photoshop, and it just spits out a manga page. I didn't do that. I took photos of my own hometown when I was there, and I would redraw the photos, same perspective, make sure that it's aligned. And yeah, the last person I took a lot of inspiration from that I wasn't aware of until after college was Sean Tan, The Arrival. If you ever look at his drawings, they're just insane. They're all really tonal, pencil drawings. And I don't know, I just thought the way that he also uses photo references in all his work was just incredible. You know this, but I actually, when I was kind of reaching out to authors and friends who are also authors for blurbs, I reached out to Sean Tan, being and I couldn't reach out to him directly, I had to go through his agent, and his agent was well, Sean doesn't really do blurbs, but we can, I can send this PDF to him, and maybe he'll send you something it probably won't be a blurb. If you look in the back of the book, he gave me a blurb, and it's the nicest thing. And I got the email, and I was I think I made a very animalistic screech. Because I'm oh my gosh, Sean's hand all the way in Australia, little me back in New York. But it was a really lovely moment. Someone you look up to, is able to see you as a peer. And I hope everyone in this room gets to experience that one day, because it's really nice. Yeah.
Oscar winner, Sean Tan. Yeah, that's right.
Wait.
He won for a short film.
What?
Yeah.
Mr.
Something
Tan.
that made me happy in the book
Yeah.
is that you, at the beginning of the book, drawing is a refuge for you, or it's something that was a safe place for you to make things. Can you talk about that in the role, what role drawing plays in the story for you as you're sort of struggling with violin as a piece of craft, and then drawing becomes something that is a place for you to be creative?
Right now as well?
Yeah.
Or also
Yeah.
Okay, sure. So I don't know, I always loved, I never realized that drawing, I guess as a freshman in high school could be a thing I could get. It was a source of pride for me, drawing, and violin was as well. But I think I took pride in violin for the wrong reasons. Orchestra in our high school was very it was serious, and I remember this one person who's a violist wanted to quit viola or stop taking it seriously, and our conductor was you're breaking my heart. It was really weird, but so that's why I was really scared to quit violin for a second. I didn't put that in the book, but I realized that oh whoa, I'm drawing, and like I'm drawing in class, like I mean that's probably why I did so awfully in physics. I am drawing like during study hall, which I don't show, but I was just drawing all the time and like religiously uploading to deviantart.com every week, hoping that I get a daily deviation. I never did. I never did. I did though, like years later, in like my junior year, and that was like no one understood what that feels like. Yeah, R.I.P. Yeah, but I know I just realized that drawing is the only thing in my life that I truly feel like so excited. Do you feel this where, you know, when you're drawing, it's like I need to get better. I need to be improving at like so many miles a second, because I know that I don't know what my ceiling is right now, and I know that if this is the thing that it is most possible for me to get better at. So that's the role that it played. Also, like the moment that I realized, like, oh, like I can actually do this, was so the people that my parents really like. I mean, I could tell them like, yeah, I think I'm good at drawing. They're like, yeah, like sure. But then they hear it from other people that they respect, and they're like, oh yeah, like you can actually do this. So one of them being my violin teacher. In the book, his name's Harry, but IRL's name is Henry. So Henry was my violin teacher, and he like was pretty. I mean, he wasn't very happy with like how I was playing violin. But then he saw my drawing, and he was like, wait a second, like you're actually like pretty good at this. And I really think that, you know, like he had a student that became a lawyer, but like he was really impressed by her drawings, but he was but like I think that you have a really big shot at this. Like it's sad that she didn't pursue it, but like I think you can really, really do this. So when my parents heard that, they were like, I think Henry might be right. Like, okay, now we believe you. The other person that they really respected that told them that I can do this was my my portfolio teacher in New York. I started going to Manhattan every Saturday because I live really close by, and she's like this big deal. Like she like would send like all her students would go to like RISD, like SFA on like full scholarships and stuff. I don't know. Korean portfolio programs are like really weird places. I can talk about that for like, do you know about Korean? Oh my God. So in Korea, I think this also happens in China too. But there's this whole like weird thing where sometimes like you would buy a portfolio. Like you would pay the teacher to do your portfolio for you.
What?
And that is how do you not?
Never heard of this.
Oh my gosh, yeah, so it's a whole thing, so.
I didn't know about double eyelids until I read this. So I'm learning
You
a lot.
have them.
I had no idea that was a commodity.
Oh yeah, but anyway, she didn't do that, but like, she was one of the people who, like, one of the, like, I don't want to say few, but like, one of like those Korean, art portfolio teachers who like really did not like that. So when she saw like my work, she was like, oh no, you can do this. Like, you are good enough that you can get into like these art schools. So I was like, she told my parents, and my parents were like, oh yeah, like, yeah, we knew that all along. Like, yeah, you're right. So I think that's when my parents like fully believed that I could do it. But I guess in other ways that art has really played a role in my life was like, I don't know, in my junior year of college, I had like basically like a mental breakdown. I talk about in the back of the book, like in the author's note, like I had a really bad time. Like I wasn't drawing for a couple of years because I went to like a program at like a university where like, you know, drawing wasn't necessary. So I was like, well, if I'm gonna work in tech, like I don't need to draw, like it's fine. And I just stopped drawing like very consistently. And I think when I had my mental breakdown, and then I kind of like started, you know, going to therapy like 12 hours a week, I started drawing again. And I was like, wow, like I really like this. And I realized that sometimes not drawing for a long time can make you better at drawing. Like you're like, and I realized that, oh, like the ceiling, like what illustration could be is a lot bigger than I expect, because, you know, when you're only on Twitter, when you're only on Instagram, you see the same kinds, the algorithm just shows you the same kinds of illustrations over and over again. And then I discovered Pinterest.com, where if you just search for one thing, it'll give you things that are like that, but like not really. And it'll just like branch out. And that's how discovered that illustration can be so much. Also, like the three illustration books at my school library had like the American illustration books. Gives like a very broad idea of what illustration could be, and that was when I realized that anything is illustration. Sometimes you don't have to be good at drawing to be good at illustration. And I think that's really crazy, but like really cool. And that's why, yeah, I would say that's how art really played a role in my life, and I haven't stopped drawing since. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you one last question. And then we'll have time for questions from the audience. So now is your time to think about that question so that it's really good by the time we get there.
Actually, do we want to do the reading after your last question?
Oh,
and
that's a
then take
great idea.
questions from the
Yes,
audience?
so then you can really think.
Think. Yeah.
Is there a passage of this book or a page that you're particularly proud of, or something in the book that really, occasionally as an artist, your own work can surprise you? Like, it's very rare, but there are those moments where you're like, whoa, that's good.
That was a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or is there one you can think of? I'm
Yeah.
kind of putting you on the spot.
No, I
did think about this because you did email me these questions earlier, so I did get to think about it. Definitely the ending. The ending changed like 3 times. I think there's one piece of dialogue, like one thing I say that I'm like, oh, I'm glad I thought of that. And that's slightly before the ending. But it's when I asked my dad, like, what did mom want to be when she was younger? And I think that's a question that, we kind of forget that like our own parents have like their own hopes and dreams that probably don't pan out the way they want to. My mom wanted to be a library scientist, which I don't know what that is. Basically like a librarian, like library science. And like she worked in a library like while she was pregnant with me in Korea. But the ending of the book, like which changed like 3 times, is a memory I had where like my mom, it's like a really tender memory where I'm like 6 years old and like she's like holding me as I'm like falling asleep, and then I still like kind of couldn't figure this out like until a few years ago. My editor is also an Asian mom, so she was like, wait, no, I know what happened, like I know how this works. Basically, there was this pattern in my head where I guess I'm like spoiling this for you, I'm sorry. But it's like a really tender moment that I kind of forgot about. And when I told my editor about this memory, like not intending this for it to be the ending, like I was like, yeah, there's this memory I had where like, and I tell her the memory, and my editor starts crying. And she's like, no, like that is it. Like that should be the ending. And I'm like, oh my gosh, so true, Connie. And then it became the ending. And I think it's like a really good like question mark. I mean, I think a lot of the biggest critique that I hear about the book, because I'm definitely not scouring Goodreads every day. I know, self-loathing. But everyone's like, a lot of people are like, oh, the ending is like rushed, or it's like, it's not like conclusive. I'm like, yeah, because I'm still alive. Like, like I haven't really.
Didn't they read the title?
It's literally called In Limbo. But yeah, I mean, the book is just like, it's inconclusive, right? Because I don't know, like, will I ever forgive my mom? Like, I hope I can. I don't know, because we don't really, Asian parents, like, we don't really talk about that. Like, we don't really talk about, the things that you like messed up on. Like, you kind of just like hope and like pray that they do forgive you. But it's like here, like I can't give you like a yes or no. I feel like giving it a happy ending where I explain to the reader everything I learned is just like disingenuous, because that's not how it works. So I think the ending is supposed to be like, it's like a question mark, but like a sign of like there is hope. And right now I'm hoping that like it works out, but I mean right now it's fine. But yeah, like that was intentional. The ending is supposed to be like maybe, but like I mean it's a memoir and I'm still alive, so it should be inconclusive, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess that was the last question, wasn't it? All right, cool. So we don't have a projector. We do right here, but it hasn't been working with my computer. So I guess like the passage I do want to read, if everyone has a copy and like follow along, it's on page, oh yeah, let's see, page 98. And I'll be reading up to page 122. It goes a lot faster than you might expect because it's mostly pictures. Okay. All right. Sophomore year. No orchestra, no honor science classes. And this time, and those are like illustrations of me taking the train from like my hometown to Penn Station, New York. I had a little more independence. So I guess like the context of this section is that I just finished freshman year. I had a really hard time because this is when I quit violin and decided to do more art. I tried to take the AP or honors classes, did really badly in them. I didn't include this part into the book, but I would like cry every day in honors physics. And when I got the final exam back, it said I got a 66. And then I like cried about it to my physics teacher, and he was like, Deb, you literally got a 20-point curve. It was really bad at physics. Anyway, all right, next page. Over time, I found my place in the art class. This is the Korean art class. There's a seat for you upstairs. Did you bring any newsprint or charcoal with you today? Oh, do you want to borrow some of mine? I have extra some figure drawing. You sure? It definitely beat Korean school. What I got there that I never had before. How about you start with that still life over there? Yeah, okay. It was a choice to be far away. See you all tomorrow. Don't forget, essay do-overs are due Monday. Hey, he gave me your, yeah, same. This is yours. Second time this month, I think. Third. Do you think he really doesn't know? Is he just guessing every time? He probably thinks we're the same Asian girl, for sure. Hey guys, miss me? What's up? Guess who confused me with Jenny Park yet again? Oh God, yikes. Is he even trying? Jenny and I had Mr. M last year too. It's just insulting. Yeah, remember when I fainted in class and he got her to try to talk to me? We don't even hang out. Weird, and you and Jenny look so different too. She's like born to be a model. No. She's one of those pretty Asian types, you know? And nice and cool and me? You're nice. Jenny Park was really gorgeous, by the way. So this is one of those conversations where this happened with people would talk about her like this in front of me multiple times, and those were one of the conversations. It happened 3 times. I could just condense it to one conversation and it would do the job. Thanks for inviting me. It's been a while. Yeah, Charlie's already seen it, so he didn't want to go again. Oh, and we should hold on to these. Maybe we can sell them on eBay in 50 years. You said pirates isn't that scary, right? So the movie, this is kind of a lie. The movie that Kate and I saw was actually Harry Potter and Deathly Hallows Part 2. And this was also drawn when Joanne Rowling was not doing so hot. And I just did not want to be involved in any kind of controversy, so I just drew to pirates. Did you see the thing about the guy in town who got arrested for hitting a kid? Shoot, that sucks. I'm glad he's in jail. People can be so terrible. Who in their right mind would do that stuff? Okay, but do you think they know that violence and stuff is bad? What if they don't think it's a big deal because no one told them it was wrong? Or if that stuff is the only way they know how to deal with things? You know what I mean? So a serial killer might not know murder is bad, they're just evil. They should definitely know it's violent and they get arrested. They literally hurt people, Deb. But what if they're, never mind. Kate, you said this isn't a scary movie. What's with the octopus guy with the, whatever, I hate it. Oh, sorry, octopus guy, whatever, I hate it. And then basically time passes and this is the art room at our high school as I best remember it. How did I do?
You did so good. Thank you.
Betsy and I went to the same high school, so Betsy knows. Hey, hi, yes, hello? Yeah, over here. I really like your drawing. Is that Spirited Away? Yeah, thanks. You like Miyazaki too? Miyazaki, who's that? The director, he's so good, and there's so many more. He also thinks anime is a mistake. I didn't know that. I really loved Spirited Away. Watch his others. Really? Like what? Oh, I can make a list. Huh? I'm so confused. It's like, anime. Anime? Quinn was someone I knew almost nothing about, except that she was smart and could get along with anyone she wanted. But it didn't take long to realize she wasn't just trying to be polite. She was here to stay. Anywhere? I don't know, Europe? Everyone in the school and their dog has been. Props. Too bad I don't have a passport. My family's been in this town since it was built, we think. We've never left. You've been stuck in New Jersey your whole life? That sounds awful. How do you survive being in one place? How did you survive moving around all your life? I guess barely. Yeah. Do this. Okay. This is how much I care about New Jersey, but also how much it bothers me that I've been here my whole life. I'll go where the wind takes me. So where have you been? A lot of places, actually. Canada, Spain, Korea, but those are always with family and we usually end up fighting. Dang. But Korea, huh? I never thought about going to Asia, but I like that it's far and different. It just sucks that I can't speak Korean. Sorry you don't speak in physics. The person that is sort of Quinn, the genius, was in my physics class and she would like get like 110 on like every test. And I would be like, you had extra credit? Like, how? Not this again. So are you fluent in Korean? How do you say hello? That depends. Oh wait, don't Asian languages change based on formal or familiar stuff? Something like that, right? Oh, and you can teach me. You can do that, can't you? That would be so, so cool. I mean, only if you wanna. What's this room? I've never been inside. Oh, I eat here a lot. I used to be in orchestra, so it's okay. You don't have to join if you want to eat with friends, though. You are my friends. We grew closer as the months went by. This way. You have a dog and you didn't tell me? Her name is Bosco. She's nice most of the time. Aw, she likes you. And a lot of girls in Seoul get it as a grad gift. Weird. It's not weird, it's normal. I might get it. You don't like your own eyes, Deb? That's not what I said. Wait, I want to Google botched surgery of this. Could be you. Think I should get a Korean tutor? I really want to learn this stuff. I think I have enough money too. Ugh, I wish I was better. Sorry. No, why are you apologizing? What's your opinion on horror? Bad? Perfect, let's see one. No! What about Ponyo? Oh, you mean poltergeist? So what are you into? Ghosts, exorcisms, cryptids, slashers? They all sound terrible. I think I know my way home from here. You sure about that? Yeah, thank God it's warmer now too. Sorry you came all this way. What are you sorry for? Oh, I don't know. I guess it's more of a thank you than an apology. I say it a lot. I've noticed. Just be careful because when you apologize that much, it all becomes white noise and loses its meaning. And it makes people think you owe them. And you don't. So stop apologizing so much, okay? Thanks, Quinn. See you tomorrow. Tell the demons in your house I say hey. You're not funny. Thank you. Can I just tell a quick story before we ask the questions? How are you doing on time?
We have time.
Hell yeah. Okay. So, me, Shreyas, Noah, and Dimitri got dinner yesterday, and I was telling them about because I remember this when I was talking about horror films. Has anyone seen The Watcher on Netflix?
Yeah.
So I live right next to that town, Westfield, right? Does anybody remember episode 6 where they talk about an English teacher from The Watcher? So there's this English teacher in The Watcher show, and his they talk about how his students had his students send a bunch of letters to a house where do you remember him?
Yes.
That was my English teacher.
In the book?
I almost included him in the book, but I have a lot of I actually one of my favorite podcasts says this is my most toxic trait, but It's a true crime. I'm sorry, but it's half true. It's called And That's Why We Drink. And it's half true crime and half paranormal. And they did an episode about the Watcher House. So they do listener stories every month. I sent in a listener story and they read it. So I'll tell you what basically like what I said. I was like, yeah, that was my English teacher. And the show predicted, like, apparently the show was not that good. I didn't watch it because it just felt a little weird. And especially finding out that my English teacher is in it made it extra weird. But apparently from what I've heard, they depicted him like perfectly. Like, I don't know, apparently they depict him as like the cool teacher, right? Everybody wants his teacher. And at this point you can like figure out who this is, like it's all public information. But he was like one of those really cool teachers, like everybody wanted him, but then you get to know him in the show and he's like this really creepy guy. That is true. And he like would give us like he was like one of those really cool people who would, you know, say like F you to the AP Lit curriculum, and he would just give us like, you know, this assignment, write a playlist or write a screenplay. And it was fun, right? Like it was so like writing a letter to a favorite house that you don't live in, but like you just like that house is not out of the ordinary for him. So it made sense, but he also became a little problematic because he, you know, like he would pick favorites and like those favorites happened to be like really conventionally attractive white girls. And he would bake cookies for them, like he did with someone that I know. And it was just really strange. And he would have us like write journal entries, and he's also an author. He's a YA author from the 90s, and he would use our journal entries and make them into books. Like he would write about, like he would take inspiration and make them into like,
I think
stories.
this is your next book.
Wait. It gets crazier. This man was a regular guest on NPR as well. He also, one of his books became a movie with Zac Efron, directed by Richard Linklater, who wrote Boyhood. That was like an Oscar winner. So so it's just like, what is going on with this man? And then what else? He would I mean, that's why I didn't want to write about him, because I was like, I feel like this guy gets like way too much like press already, and I don't want to like include him in the book. But something else he would do he would have us write journal entries that, you know, would become like, you know, eventually at some point he might use them for ideas. I wrote my journal entry about like, you know, I really looked up to him. Like I wrote about like, you know, this very pivotal moment of the book where I, you know, tried to like unalive myself, you know, as a call for help, right? He didn't really say anything. I was about a B on the journal entry. And you know, I was like, okay, he didn't say anything. He's probably just like trying to be professional, whatever. And then years later, I meet up with someone from my class, and she was telling me, we were like, you know, reminiscing over high school. We were in the same English class, and she said, yeah, he actually approached me after class, and she's like, she was a favorite of his, and she said like, oh, he like came up to me and said, and she was going through an eating disorder, and he was like, I'm so sorry for everything you're going through. Like no one should ever have to go through that. And I was like, wait a second. So he's like picking and choosing who he comes up to. And like, I don't think any like, I mean, not to compare like our experiences or like say that one of our experiences is better than the other, but like you can't, if you're a teacher, you can't really do that. You can't just pick and choose, right? And then we can go to questions. But the last thing I found out was that we would have our last cool assignment in the class was to write index cards to each other. And turns out if you can write an index card to him if you wanted to, he would take those index cards and use them for testimonials on his website. Like, Annika says that, thank you for helping me through the year, like I really needed this. And they became like part of his website. But last thing before, but the reason that he was such a big suspect was that his brother lived a few blocks away from that house. He would make his students write letters to a house. And yeah, it was just really strange. But yeah, apparently he like is in a Wikipedia edit battle where like he has a Wikipedia page and people would like write about his like affiliation with the Lodger House, but he would like delete it. Then someone would put it back and then he would delete it. So that's been going on. Sorry, it's like a bunch of goss that I think it's really funny. But this is all public information, so I just wanted to share it with you all. Yeah, questions? Yes.
Yeah, I may have a question. Firstly, I'm so impressed by your talk. And
you.
I kind of want to come back to the first question, like how you treat yourself as the main character in the book.
Yeah.
You said you neither want to glorify yourself or make people feel the pain. Like you try to record what happened as simple as possible.
Yeah.
Can I know more specific approach how you do the alienation between you and the audience? Like they will not feel like it's just a specific how you react to the scene. Not everyone would react. Like how did you
Like
make?
how did I like figure out the way that an audience would react to how I am, like my actions in the book?
Yes, kind of like that.
I mean, I knew that I'd be like, I think I knew that like, you know, based on kind of I was just a little possessive and like in a codependent like friendship, that I know that like I was worried because I was like, oh my gosh, like my friends are gonna read this and they're gonna hate me because like I have this awful history of like being very like codependent in like friendships. But I think it's just like, well, like if I don't include that, like I don't think I'll be happy with myself for like the rest of my life. Like I would feel like I would have to write a follow-up book and I don't have time to do that. But yeah, I think it's just trying to be like as honest with myself as possible. Like there was but like not too much where it's like it feels a little staged, or it feels like, am I just asking for pity? So there were a few scenes in the book where, you know, like I used to have like really bad anger issues when I was a kid. Like there was a point where, and this was my common app essay actually, but I would like take after my mom and like the way that she like really destructive. But I wanted to talk about that, but I just felt like it was a little too much. Maybe like what about it? Like what about like, you know, like I used to like break my brother's Legos. Like it was really bad. But I felt like it's like it gets like a little too like gratuitous. Like I don't like, what is the point of me showing that? And like I'm already tackling so much. So maybe that will be a follow-up like short book about like managing my anger, or like, you know, but yeah, I haven't really thought about that in a long time. So thanks for being the catalyst to bring that up. But thank you. That was a really good question. Yes. Hi.
As a mentally unwell Korean American immigrant myself,
Same.
thank you for writing this book and congratulations. It's super exciting. So what have you learned from this book making process that you think you'll carry over into your next book project? Things that you either mistakes that you learned from, or like things that you definitely want to incorporate in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the best answer I have to that is like the bookmaking process. Like, I knew nothing about cartooning. Like, I do not know what pencils are. I do not know what roughs are. Like, I mean now I do because it's my job. But I guess it's more about like the order I do things. Like, I usually started like pictures first, and then dialogue, and then like I would change. Like, what I would literally do is that I would draw the pictures like following the synopsis, and I would just like write in whatever. Like, and dialogue was pretty choppy. But then as I'm rendering the book, I'm like, oh, these thumbnails are not really like, I drew these thumbnails like 2 years ago. They don't really look like the kind of thumbnail I want. So I would re-thumbnail it and redo the entire page that day. And I would do that every single day and just hope and pray that it works out. And that is like, I do not do that. I was supposed to write a script, follow that script, and then thumbnail, and then like thumbnail it, pencil it, and then go back and do the renders. Like, that's what you're supposed to do. But no, it was like I was drawing the book page by page by page and just hope that it works out. And I don't know, I think it worked out. Like it seems cohesive. But yeah, that's the big thing I would take away. The next book I'm working on, I do follow that, so it's gonna be I mean I didn't write it, but like the illustrations will be much more cohesive, I think. What else? I guess another part that I did want to show up here, but you can just see it in the book that like, you know, every page does not have to be a masterpiece. Like we talked about this, but like I feel like at the very beginning, like my pages were, I'm at 100% because I just wanted to be a new Asana so bad. I was drawing backgrounds. Every panel has like details, and every panel is like filled up to the brim with like illustrations. But I realized that if I'm working at 90% at all times, and now I want to have a page that's at 100% or maybe 110% if I'm feeling saucy, but no one's gonna notice it because it's like, well, this is a standard and this is what we should expect for the entire book. But then at the end, towards the end, you notice there's more white space. Like the way I start drawing people like shifts a little bit. I start using different brushes halfway through the book. Yeah, like I mean, like I feel like I'm putting the same amount of detail I am putting in throughout the book, but it's more of I'm putting in a lot more white space, and I have room for
Did
bubbles.
you draw it in order, like page 1 to
Yeah.
350?
You can, yeah, I did. So that's what I was really scared about. Was like, oh my gosh, like I need to like redraw like the first half of the book by the time I finish because the drawing style is incohesive, but like people were like, do not do that. Don't do that. Someone that
I didn't.
Oh, thank you, John. I think like the last thing, it's not about the treasure, but the friends we made along the way. But I'm really lucky. So halfway through making the book, I moved from Oakland to New York, and it was a really good decision because 99% of all my friends live in New York, and a lot of those people write and draw comics. So I had like a group of friends who, like were very I don't want to put names right now, but like a lot of them like felt like they lost years of their life making comics, and like they're happy with the comics and they're really gorgeous comics, but they're saying like I will force you to take a break. Like I will make sure that you ask for more time when you need it, because originally the book was supposed to come out in 2021. It is 2023, and I'm really glad that I asked for that 2-year extension, and I'm happy to be working with editors who, they're in it for it's a marathon, not a sprint. So making books every 5 years instead of spitting one out every 2 years, just like it was a better choice. Yeah, that was a really long-winded answer. Thank you. Betsy.
Also, hi.
Hi,
Nice to
Betsy.
see you again. Hometown hero.
Yes.
I guess my question is, you were talking about leveling up, and feeling like you're not out like that, constantly like raising that ceiling.
Yeah.
And I really relate to that. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about times where you feel like the well dries up a little bit, or you don't have access to like keep raising that bar. What you do in those times.
I usually look at Pinterest. I also started taking recently I started painting in a different way. Like I started including I took like this online class that a friend of mine was like teaching, but she teaches like stuff about color and light. And I thought I came into it being like, I really love the way this person draws and I want to learn what it's like to draw like her. And I realized that, I can, there are so many ways to paint. And I realized, I don't think I was like at a crossroads. I didn't feel like at that point I was getting bored of my voice of drawing at that point, but it was like taking that class and hearing about the way that she talks about drawing made me realize that if there's like a way for me to evolve. I'm glad that I was at that point where I could have gotten like tired of my voice, but like all of a sudden now there's this new way to paint, and that's what I started doing, like using like very impressionist. If I'm trying to paint like a white wall, like if I color pick that wall, it's like a bunch of different colors. It's like very like very Monet thing to do. But I guess what I would do is just like I have a Pinterest board where I had pinned a bunch of illustrations that were the reasons for me to get into illustration. And I often just, if I feel like if I'm missing something, I just look back on that Pinterest board. Sometimes it's like my DeviantArt favorites folder that I still have up, and I just go through those and see like, this is why I like drawing. Like, it's because I was seeing all these pieces, and it made me want to like go on my I don't know, like my 2-inch Wacom tablet and like draw again, and just like looking back what excited me before and getting back onto that train. Is that helpful? Okay, cool. Yeah, hi.
Hi. Do you think you would ever make another memoir about yourself, like a full another book, or are you sick of it? And if you do, would it be for this like a sequel or as its own entity?
I think it would, if I do make another memoir, I would like hide it as like, yeah, this is about someone who kind of looks like me and did these things. I think I really want to write a book about, I don't know, like, it's not college. Like, I felt like I have my own bone to pick with the school, like the way that like a lot of the things I wanted to do was like discouraged at my school. But I definitely want to write something about working in Silicon Valley. That place is crazy. It's just like a whole new world, and I definitely want to like mask it as like, I mean, I feel like we're at the point of like at least like in my circle where like it's really not that cool to work at Facebook. It's really not super cool to work at Apple or Google, because where I went, like everyone wanted to work there. Like getting a job at Facebook was like the coolest thing you could possibly get. But I think now that like we're taking off like those rose-colored glasses, I think it would be really fun to write like a shorter book about what was that like? Like, what is it like to work in an industry where like everyone around you, you do not care about the same things that everyone around you cares about, like crypto and like buying property and going to Napa. Like, I did not care about that. You know, like talking about like bringing up things that I cared about and having it be like, oh, I mean, it's just a thing. Like, being in an industry where like I just know that I do not belong here was like such a weird experience. I definitely want to write about that, but mask it as like, this is not an autobiography. Like, yeah, but thank you for that question. Yeah. Should we do one more?
Well, should we sign some books?
Do you have another question?
I certainly could come up with one.
All right.
Okay, here, wait, let me go back to my list.
Yes.
I missed one.
You did, I think.
Okay, well, should this be the final question?
Yeah, let's do it.
What is your next project?
So, okay, there's a few on the horizon. One of them is from a different publishing house that is like not, I think I like mentioned this very briefly, but it's not written by me. I'm illustrating it, but this book came in like a year after I got In Limbo, so that book is coming out next year, but it's called The Other Side of Tomorrow, and it is a book about kids escaping from North Korea. It's in full color, which scares me a little bit because I'm still coloring it, and I'm hoping to be done by the fall. I'm hoping to be done by like August or like maybe before September. So that's what's on the horizon. I'm also illustrating a couple picture books. I'm writing one of them. One is called Monster Seek, which is like an allegory about like gender. That is coming from Astra House. I think that's probably coming out in like 2026, so like in a million years. And I'm writing and illustrating an unnamed picture book that I still don't know what it's about yet, but it turns out picture books is really hard. I've been like sending like pitches to because we already have like the deal set in that came with In Limbo. And like my editor, who is like a shining star in picture books, like, you know, she has very high standards for what a picture book is. I keep sending her ideas, and she's like, Deb, this is not a picture book. This is like a mini graphic novel you're trying to pitch to me. So it's just, I don't know. Kids are difficult, like in every way possible. Yeah, I'm sure you know this. Yeah, thank you so much for coming out on a 3 p.m. on Saturday.
second that. Thank you all for coming out. We have tons of copies for sale. If you want to get one signed, you have to get one signed.
Yeah.
You're obligated to get one signed. Thank you all for coming out. You can now mill about. Thank you.
Talk about the watcher.
That was too much.
Sorry.
Yeah, I was like, they have a hard time.
Thank you so much. Yeah, no, I think. Okay, thank you.
I can throw that off.
I think that might have ran out of battery just for your own.